I was kneeling on the floor that morning. The room was quiet, so quiet that I could hear the tiny sound of my father breathing. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, not rushing, not speaking, just looking down at his shoes like they were suddenly too complicated. His hands were moving slowly, a little too slowly. He tried to pull the shoelace through the hole, then stopped. Tried again, then sighed, very softly. And without thinking too much, I moved closer. I took the shoe from his hand. I tied it for him. Just like that. One simple movement. One small act. But my heart felt like it had dropped somewhere deep inside me. Because when I looked up at him, I saw something I was not ready to see. The man who once carried me on his shoulders, the man who used to walk ahead of me like nothing in the world could stop him, was now looking at me with quiet, uncertain eyes. Not weak, not broken, just older, more fragile, more human. And in that moment, I felt something inside me change, very slowly, very painfully. I realized that the strong hands that once held my whole world now needed my hands. And I thought to myself, is this what love becomes when time passes? Because nobody really prepares you for this part. Nobody tells you that one day your parents may need you the way you once needed them. Nobody tells you that growing up means watching the people who raised you begin to need care, begin to need patience, begin to need gentleness. And there I was, holding his shoe in my hand, trying not to cry, trying to stay calm, trying to be strong. But my chest felt so full, so heavy, that I could barely breathe. Hey, I'm glad you're here. And I know that opening was heavy. I know. Take a breath with me. Slowly. In and out. Good. Now come a little closer. Yes, you too, our friend listening with us. Sit here with us. There's a warm cup of tea on the table. The light is soft. The room is quiet. And you do not need to say anything yet. You can just be here, with us. Ivan has been listening quietly, and I can see that this story touched him too. Maybe it touched you as well. Maybe it reminded you of your own parents, or your grandparents, or a moment you never forgot. Today, we are not rushing. We are not trying to be perfect. We are just sitting together and talking about something very real, something very tender, something that many people feel, but do not always know how to say out loud.
Yeah, this kind of feeling stays with you.
It does. Today's topic is about family, about aging, about love that changes shape over time, and about the strange, beautiful moment when parents slowly begin to feel like children again. When I first noticed it, I honestly didn't want to believe it. I think many of us feel that way. We see one small change and we tell ourselves it's nothing, just a small mistake, just a tired day, just a little forgetfulness. That's what I told myself. My mother started forgetting small things, where she put her glasses, what she came into the room to get, the name of a person she had just spoken about. At first, I smiled. I even laughed a little, because I thought, oh, this happens to everyone. And yes, maybe it does. But then it happened again, and again, and again. One day, she asked me the same question 3 times, and the third time, she smiled at me like it was the first time she had asked. That smile, I still remember it. It was so innocent, so soft, so unaware of how much it hurt me. Because in that moment, I understood something I had been avoiding. This was not just forgetfulness. This was the beginning of a different season of life, a quieter season, a slower one, a more fragile one.
That must have been hard to accept.
It was very hard, because when you grow up with strong parents, you start believing they will always stay that way. You think your father will always be the one who opens the jar, the one who fixes the broken chair, the one who knows where everything is. You think your mother will always remember every birthday, every medicine, every little detail. You think they will always be the ones who know what to do. And then, one day, you notice they are asking you for help. Small help at first, then more and more. And that is when your heart starts to understand something your mind was not ready for.
That feels like the world quietly changes shape.
Yes, exactly. That is such a good way to say it. The world changes shape, and so does love. My father became stubborn in a way that reminded me of a child. He would refuse to wear his sweater, even when it was cold. He would say he was fine when he clearly was not. He would insist on doing things his way, even when his body was telling him something different. And I would get frustrated. I would think, why is this so difficult? Why won't he listen? Why does everything have to become an argument? And then I would feel guilty for thinking that, because I knew he was not trying to be difficult. He was trying to hold on to independence, hold on to dignity, hold on to the version of himself he had always known.
That's such a painful thing to witness.
It really is. And I think that is why this stage of life feels so emotional. Because you are not only watching someone age, you are watching them change. You are watching them become softer, slower, more dependent. And if you love them deeply, that change can feel like a quiet heartbreak. I remember one evening, my father refused to take his medicine. He said he didn't need it. He said he was perfectly fine. He said it with that same stubborn voice I had heard all my life. And I was tired. I had had a long day. I was already emotionally drained. So I answered too quickly, too sharply. I raised my voice a little, not a lot, just enough. And then he stopped talking. He looked down, and the room became very still. That silence, that one small silence, hurt me more than the argument itself, because suddenly I saw him not as the strong father I had always known, but as someone who was trying his best to stay in control, someone who needed care, someone who needed patience.
That moment must have stayed with you.
It did. I went to my room that night and sat on the bed for a long time. I kept thinking, I should have been kinder. I should have slowed down. I should have understood more. And that guilt stayed with me. Not because I was a bad daughter, but because I loved him. And when you love someone deeply, you feel every mistake more sharply. You feel every impatient word, every sigh, every moment you wish you could take back.
I think many people know that feeling.
Yes. And maybe that is why this story matters. Because so many of us go through this quietly. We do not always talk about it. We do not always say, "My parents are changing. My grandparents need more help now. I am scared. I feel sad. I feel confused." But inside, we feel all of it. And slowly, we begin to learn a new kind of love. A love that is not loud, not dramatic, not perfect. A love that repeats itself every day. A love that shows up again and again. I started helping my parents with little things. I reminded my mother where she left her glasses. I wrote down appointments. I spoke more slowly. I listened more carefully. I stopped trying to win every small disagreement. And little by little, I began to understand that this was not a burden. It was a gift, a difficult gift, but still a gift, because I was being given the chance to care for the people who once cared for me, to return the favor.
Return the favor?
Yes, that phrase became very important to me, because when I was a child, they returned so many favors to me without ever asking for anything in return. They stayed awake when I was sick. They carried me when I was tired. They fed me, protected me, comforted me. They gave me time, energy, love. Now it was my turn. Not because I owed them in a cold or heavy way, but because love naturally moves in circles. It comes back. It changes hands. It becomes care. It becomes patience. It becomes presence.
That's beautiful.
And, strange enough, the more I accepted this, the more beauty I started to see. My mother's forgetfulness became less frightening. It became tender. My father's stubbornness became less annoying. It became human. Their slower pace, their repeated questions, their need for help, all of it started to feel like a reminder that they were still here, still alive, still loving, still trying, just in a different way.
So it wasn't only sadness.
No, it was sadness, but also gratitude and love, and a kind of quiet peace, because I realized something important. They were not becoming less valuable. They were not becoming less important. They were simply entering a new chapter, a softer chapter, a chapter that asked me to love them differently.
That sounds like a very deep kind of growing up.
It is. And I think that is why people sometimes call it a second childhood. At first, I didn't like that phrase. It sounded too sad, too small, too unfair. But now I understand it differently. Second childhood does not mean they stop being who they are. It means they need more care, more patience, more gentleness, more understanding. It means life has slowed down for them, and if we love them, we slow down too.
That's such a loving way to see it.
I try. I really do. And I still have hard days. Of course I do. There are days when I feel tired, days when I feel impatient, days when I miss the old version of everything. But even on those days, I remind myself that love is not only measured by how easy it feels. Sometimes love is measured by how gently we stay, how kindly we respond, how often we choose softness over frustration, how often we choose to sit beside someone instead of walking away.
Aya, what you're describing has a name in English.
It does?
Yes. It's called role reversal.
Role reversal.
Exactly. It means the roles between parent and child slowly change over time. At one point, they were the ones taking care of you. They protected you. They guided you. They made decisions for you. They were the strong ones. And later in life, the roles begin to shift. You become the one who helps. You become the one who reminds. You become the one who supports. That is role reversal.
That phrase feels so accurate.
It is. And it can be emotional because it reminds us that life is always moving, Nothing stays exactly the same, not even the people we thought would always stay strong.
Yes, that's exactly how it feels.
And in moments like this, there is another phrase that fits very well. Patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue.
Yes, it means patience is a good quality, a strong quality, a valuable quality. It is not passive. It is not weak. It is powerful, especially when someone you love is becoming more fragile. Patience helps us slow down. It helps us listen. It helps us respond with kindness instead of frustration.
That makes so much sense.
And when we think about your story, we can see that patience was not just a nice idea, it was love in action. You slowed your voice. You listened more. You helped with small things. You gave your parents space to be human. That is a beautiful kind of care.
I never thought of it that way.
Sometimes the most meaningful love is quiet. It does not need applause. It does not need attention. It just keeps showing up.
That's true. And maybe that is what makes this stage of life so emotional, because it asks us to love without expecting the old version of things. It asks us to accept change, to accept softness, to accept that the people who raised us are now asking us to hold them up a little.
And that can be very sacred.
Yes, sacred is the right word, because it is not only about helping someone put on shoes, or reminding them to take medicine, or repeating the same answer 3 times. It is about honoring the people who gave us our first home, our first safety, our first love.
And now you are giving that love back.
I am trying, every day. Not perfectly, but sincerely. And maybe that is enough. Maybe love does not need to be perfect to be real. Maybe it only needs to be present. To everyone listening, I want to ask you something from my heart. Have you ever experienced this kind of role reversal with your parents or grandparents? Have you ever noticed that they needed you more than before? That they were becoming softer, slower, more dependent? And if you have, how did it make you feel?
And how do you show them love now?
Yes. How do you care for them? How do you return the favor?
If you feel comfortable, please share your story in the comments.
Even a small story, a small memory, a small moment, that is enough. Because real stories matter.
And your feelings matter too.
We are not looking for perfect English. We are looking for honest hearts, for real experiences, for the quiet truths that live inside everyday life.
Sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we almost never say out loud.
Exactly. So if this episode made you think of someone you love, take that feeling gently, hold it carefully, and maybe today send them a message. Make them tea, sit beside them, listen a little longer, be a little softer.
That's a beautiful way to love.
Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for sitting with this story. Thank you for letting us share something so tender with you.
We hope this episode gave you comfort.
And if it did, then we are truly grateful. Take your time, be gentle with yourself, and be gentle with the people you love.
We'll meet you again next time with another quiet story.
Until then, remember this: patience is a virtue.
And love always finds its way.
Both, goodbye, friend.